than electricity, than even the water, is what? The drainage system. You don't start building a city without a drainage system. And that's why in Budele Block 5 and other areas, people are really suffering. There are situations where we saw pictures when people are climbing on top of their building, their Arakuba, because on the ground is flooded. Not because initially there used to be no rain, but there was not too much building, and then the water channels were there. But now we start building a city without a drainage system, and that's why we are having this problem. So your issue was you are addressing the conflict between man and nature, which we appreciate, and we are grateful for that. But at least you will have grown for us the conflict to it. we will have appreciated that much. So we are going to session 2. And we'll still have more sessions. As we said earlier on, we're going to be cooperating and being flexible with our time because we started late. We're going to be a little bit flexible. Okay, so we are going for session 2. Session 2, we are trying to look at how do we manage conflict. So there, you have already been able to identify conflict. You have been able to identify the structural causes, the root causes, those main underlying issues, and then you have been able to identify the triggers, that immediate event that lead to the fighting. Like we saw here in 2013, tension, it starts with tension, but the key issue has been decision of governance, and then there is tension, and then that immediate event where now people fire bullets and kill each other. That's how conflict runs. But once it's happening, then we need to start doing, one of the elements for resolving conflict is managing conflict. So this session is going to be very brief, but we will again do another group work to summarize our understanding of what we have learned so far. At the end of this session, we are expecting you at least to be able to identify the immediate conflict mitigation strategies. Like earlier on, we were seeing the pictures. The mother came and took the orange. That was already conflict management. The time she took the orange, they were no longer fighting. They were paying attention to her, what she does with the orange. The next step for her will have been now to put them together and say, my children, why are you fighting? Which unfortunately she didn't do. She dictated the solution. So you as a peace committee, you don't dictate the solution, you are a mediator. You try to understand conflict using the tools that you have used here for analyzing conflict. Once you analyze now, you propose, okay, according to me, I think if the two of you can accept this solution ABCD, then we can move forward. So you'll be able to identify when you get to the conflict area, conflict spot, how do you mitigate, how do you reduce the impact of violence, or how do you stop violence? You'll be able to also mapping of conflict hotspot, that area of higher conflict concentration, and then you'll be able to map the resources for immediate conflict mitigation. Now, how do you manage conflict? The first approach to conflict is to mitigate or to reduce the impact of what? Of the conflict. Earlier on we gave an example. We said, in this country, there is one community where we have, I don't know whether it is stereotype or what happens is that when they come and they fight, my brother and the other gentleman were fighting, I will immediately join the fight on the side of my brother. Then we will fight for some time, clash each other, injure each other, and then later on when we are all exhausted, then we will say, what was the reason? So we say that is a wrong approach. The first thing you do, even if it's your brother involved in the fight, or your sister, or whoever, is to stop the fight, try to separate them, okay? That is the first stage of conflict management. When you're separating them, you're managing what? The conflict. Now, conflict and crisis hotspot mapping is an analytical process used to identify visualize geographical areas experiencing high concentration of compounding conflict. So let us talk about the niggers. Which group talked about the niggers committing atrocities? Group 4, right? So if you are talking about the concentration of niggers in Juba, which area has more niggers in Juba where they are committing more atrocities? Which area has the highest concentration? Qatar, somebody said Qatar.
Gumbo.
Rock City.
Gumbo.
Lologo. Gumbo. Which one has registered the recent death where niggers fight with other group and even kill somebody or there were major injuries? Which area? In Juba. Gumbo, right? So, now in Gumbo will be the hotspot area for heavy concentration of nigger activities. That means now, your awareness to the community will be, by this time don't move in these areas. Are they spreading all across Gumbo, or there are specific areas in Gumbo? There are specific areas. So those specific areas are your what? Your conflict hotspot, which means people who are vulnerable to niggers attack will be warned not to move in these areas. Or else, if you have resources like the police to be deployed to address the issue of niggers, then you say, yes, in Gumbo we have niggers here, but this particular illa, this particular block is where they are operating. So you will have to deploy more security forces to that area. Thank you.